It's an early morning for Rick Perry, who's already holding his second event of the day in South Carolina. The presidential candidate is trying to work both sides of the room, talking jobs and the economy, while also shoring up his conservative credentials. Home state critics, however, say just because it works in Texas doesn't mean it'll play to a national audience. Joining us now from Austin, Democratic Congressman Lloyd Doggett. Congressman,
Chris, good to join you.
Thank you for joining us. You and Rick Perry have had a long history. You've known each other for a couple decades now. He used to be a Democrat just like you. Why do you think it's so important? Why have you taken it on yourself to go out and educate people about what your impressions of Perry have been?
Well, Chris, as you've noted, he has put his boot in his mouth a couple times this week and using terms like treason, truly outrageous. But Rick Perry has not let his outrageous statements get in the way of him making many billionaire buddies here in Texas. My differences with him are not so much in what he says, but what he does. And I believe that his policies have been very harmful here in Texas to middle class and working families, particularly with reference to our public schools. That's been the area we've had the most difference. Now with our economy having so many problems, I just don't think he has a formula other than tall Texas tales about how to get America moving again.
Well, Congressman, let me ask you, Rick Perry is someone, and I know you know this, but this is a guy who's never lost an election. He's won statewide. He's won in a West Texas state House seat. He's won for governor. What explains his electoral success if, as you say, this is a guy who talks a big game but doesn't do things?
Well, that tough talk and appealing to the extremes has been a formula for success here in Texas, even against a very conservative United States senator who challenged him for governor. He's always willing to take another leap to the right. I think making outrageous statements and moving to the extremes has worked for him in West Texas, and I think it can work for him in the Republican primary. I think the harm he has caused to our education system and his inability to come up with a winning strategy for jobs, I believe that will hurt him if he does win the nomination and is the candidate next fall.
Is he unelectable in a general election based on what you know of him?
It all depends on the times. When we see the stock market fluctuating like it is, when the people I represent are more concerned about what's happening at the food market and the prices of food, there are not enough jobs. Those are uncertain conditions where a Rick Perry can come in with a fast and simple approach and some tough talk and could be very competitive. So I don't underestimate Rick Perry, nor do I underestimate his ability to talk around this jobs problem. I believe we need a strong plan, and all he offers is to do less, the same old formula that got us into this mess under the last Texan who was a governor.
And Congressman, you mentioned him, and I was going to. Thanks for the segue. Would Rick Perry be a better or worse president than George W. Bush in your estimation?
It's a tough comparison. It may be that one of the few things Karl Rove and I agree on is that Rick Perry has problems. But I think the formula of less law enforcement on Wall Street and lower taxes, that didn't work to get our economy moving. It got us into the problems we have now. Rick Perry wants to pursue the same policy, just talk tougher and go more extreme than George Bush did.
Congressman, I want to ask you one other thing. You've got a primary shaping up in Texas next year for your own seat. Is that more about you, or is it more about the changing demographics of your state?
I think it's all about Rick Perry, actually. Rick Perry drew these districts to get rid of me, sole purpose, split my district in 5 pieces because I stood up for Texas schools. He wanted to take federal money and essentially use it to plug the state budget gap that his mismanagement created. I wanted to see it actually get into the classroom, and it became very clear that if I stood by the amendment and protected the schools, Rick Perry was going to mess up my district. I'm going to beat him at his own game, and uniting Austin and San Antonio will give me an opportunity to work with some people and provide the same kind of representation across that district that I provided to my neighbors here in Austin. If Governor Perry didn't think I could win among my neighbors, he wouldn't have denied so many of them the opportunity to cast a vote in the election.
Congressman Lloyd Doggett, thanks for your time.